Hi, this is Christian Chase with Chase Real Estate and ChaseForeclosure.com. Hey, so many of our investors reach out to us about rental real estate and specifically the BRRRR strategy and the BRRRR V2 strategy that's out there. And one of the reasons why investors right now are so into rentals, we're selling more rental real estate than I think we ever have in our entire career, whether it be single family homes and multifamily buildings. There's so much of that going on, and there's a reason why that's happening. Is a lot of investors that are in the stock market are looking at the stock market and looking for safe harbor, and real estate always happens to be that place. So that's why there's so much of this buy, fix, and rent going on. And what I wanted to do is explain to our investors the process of doing a cash out refinance on a property. It's like anything else that we do. If you buy, fix, and sell properties with us, or if you've ever bought, fixed, and rented out properties and done a cash out refinance, you know that we have a process and a system in place. And so one of the things that I wanted to do today quickly is just explain what the process is when you're buying a property to fix up and get it rented out, and doing a cash out refinance and looking at what the cash flow is on the property. The process is really, really simple. It really just dovetails into what we do with all of the flip properties that we have. So what I'm going to do is take you through that process right now. Step one is identifying under market real estate. Now that's something that we do and we've done for pretty much ever, is identify under market real estate, distress sales, bank-owned properties, asset manager properties. We're getting very, very good inventory, and we're still buying homes well under market, which is key to the whole process of doing a cash out refinance. You've got to buy the property right. And like I said, you make your money when you buy, not when you sell. And it's key to this whole process working for a cash out refinance is to be buying those properties right. So first step is you're going to be looking at foreclosure properties, under market real estate. We're going to be sending over to you all the numbers with each one of the properties. What's the after rehab value? So you know what you're going to be able to get as a new appraisal on the property after it's all fixed up, cleaned up, and rented out. So we're providing everything. And one of the things that's key is I have below a calculator called our Cash Out Refinance calculator. This darn calculator is so accurate. You can pretty much budget any property that you're buying. You plug in just a few numbers inside this calculator. It's going to spit out how much cash you're going to cash out or leave in the property, and then how much your cash flow will be on a monthly basis. So you can use this calculator, play with it, make different assumptions on it, make changes, and you have the ability to do that with this quick little calculator. But the first step is buying these properties right. That's key. Step two is identifying a loan product for the purchase of real estate. Now, this isn't really a lot different. If you flipped properties with us in the past, you're always getting a loan, probably like a line of credit through Bob and Brian, to be able to buy the property and do the renovation on the property. So many of our loans are the purchase and the renovation all baked into one loan package, and is great for investors who are using the BRRRR strategy. You could go ahead and give Bob, you identify a property with us at our firm. You're going to reach out to Bob and Brian and say, hey, I'm buying a rental property, but I need to get a loan to buy the property and get it all fixed up, cleaned up. They're going to make that loan for you. That's going to feel very traditional, what you've done in the past if you've done buy, fix, and sell properties with us. And that's going to likely be a line of credit. Step three, you're going to be closing on the property. And now once you've closed on the property, that's when renovation can get started on the house. Now the renovation process is very similar to what you do if you're flipping properties. The renovation team has already been out to the home, but one thing you're going to notice whenever we send a property out, we number one have what the flip renovation would be. And we also now have a rental renovation. And what's the difference between the two is if we're flipping a property, we're typically doing a little higher end inside the property than we are if we're going to be renting it out. And I'm talking about like the cosmetic end of things. We're always focusing in on the safe, sound, secure, and then cosmetically attractive. So what's important that our investors know is that hey, you're going to have two rehab numbers. You're going to have a rehab number if you're going to sell it, and that's probably going to be a higher number. And if you're going to be renting the property, we're going to have a rental scope to remodel the property, and that's likely going to be lower than the flip scope. So you have two different scopes that you're working with if you're fixing it up and selling it or fixing it up and renting out. And because we're going to be renting the property in this case, doing the BRRRR strategy, that number will likely be less than what the flip numbers are. All right, step number 4, you've closed on your property, renovation has been started on the home. The next step in this whole process is to reach out to Bob and Brian and get started on the CashOut Refinance. You want to get the paperwork in hand, get them working on everything so that once your tenant moves inside the property, they kind of press a button and it's sent into the lender, and we're just really waiting for that cash back on the CashOut Refinance. But one of the things that investors need to do is they need to prepare for this. And so the day that you close on the property, and your renovations getting started, you want to be reaching out to Bob and Brian, letting them know, let's go ahead and work on getting that CashOut Refinance paperwork in the hopper. So that's a key part to this whole process. One of the cool things, though, is the banks that we work with, that Bob and Brian are working with, they only have a 90-day seasoning requirement, meaning that I buy the property today, my rehab team is fixing it up over 30, 45 days. Amanda and the leasing team are looking for a tenant, and that's going to take about 30 days. So by the time you get that lease executed, you can actually do the CashOut Refinance at that time. So you've been working on all the paperwork during the renovation and identifying a tenant for the property. So once you've identified that tenant for the property, you just let Bob and Brian know, hey, we've got the tenant, the lease has been executed. They then press a button that essentially goes right to the bank, and all your refinance is then taking place at that point. So we're able to really tighten this whole process up, and that's critical to the whole BRRRR strategy. It's repeating the whole process over and over, and just staying on top of it, and staying on top of Bob and Brian as well of, hey, let's get the paperwork done early on in the process and not wait to the last minute, because that could take more than 90 days, which is the seasoning requirement for these properties. Step number 5, once the property has been completed in renovation, what we want to do is we want to start marketing that property for rent. So what our investors need to do is they need to go to chaserental.com. There's a button on Chase Rental to list your property for rent. That's going to go over to our leasing team. They're going to go ahead and get the property advertised and start marketing for the tenant. They'll do all the background checks, credit checks, criminal check, everything that needs to be done, verify pay stubs. They'll write up the lease, exchange the keys, and kind of deliver everything to you. Or if you're using our property management team that we have, which you can also find on chaserental.com, they'll then take over at that particular point. But what will happen is we need to get that property rented. To be able to do a cash-out refinance, we need an executed lease in hand. So we want to be working on that as soon as renovation is completed. We want to work with the leasing team on getting that property rented out. Step 6 in the process is reaching back out to Bob and Brian to let them know that the refinance can get started, or they can essentially click the button to get the refinance started because you now have the property completely renovated. You now have a tenant that's an executed lease, and Bob and Brian can now just get the little finishing details and get the property to close and do the cash out refinance. So this part of the process is very, very quick because we prepared well in advance that we're going to be doing this. So all Bob and Brian need to know is that the property's renovated, there's an executed lease. Doesn't mean the tenant has to be living in the property. It means we need to be able to show that there is a lease on the property, or an executed lease. That's a key part of this whole process. Step 7, you're going to want to start collecting your cash flow from your tenant that's living inside your property. You've got your funds back in hand from the cash out refinance to now go ahead and reinvest into another property. And the whole idea behind the BRRRR strategy, or the BRRRR V2, is to build a real estate portfolio. It's using the same funds over and over again to keep acquiring real estate without having to dig into your pocket and find more funds. It's using the same funds from the first property that you do. On the 50th property that you do, you're using those same funds again and again to keep building up this real estate portfolio. And I can only tell you, I have personally done this myself, and it has worked out absolutely phenomenal for me. And I'm not saying that there's always been little things that have come up with owning rental real estate. That absolutely is the case. I'm going to give you a guarantee today. That's it. You're always going to have something that you're dealing with. But if you don't like dealing with certain things, we have property management. And all you need to do is plug into these systems that we have. And maybe in the beginning you do it yourself, like I did. I was like very hands-on. I wanted to learn the whole process. So I did all my own property management. Then there was a part in our life where we said, we don't want to do property management anymore. And so you turn it over to somebody. And so we have that property management team that we trust and is a great resource. But the whole idea is to keep repeating this process over and over again. And it's really a great way to build wealth. And as always, you can check out our website, chaseforeclosure.com, which is all single family investments. On our website, Chase Investor, that is all multifamily buildings. Those are typically 6 units or greater. You're going to be able to find all those on there. And our other website, chaserental.com, you can see all of our rental properties, our rental process, property management, pretty much anything that you need that's rental related is all on chaserental.com. So as always, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to give me a call. Thanks.